Good evening, and welcome to the Commonwealth Club Silicon Valley program brought to you from the Santa Clara Convention Center. My name is Lata Krishnan. Our speaker this evening needs very little introduction. He is a best-selling author and physician and the founder of Chopra Center for Wellbeing in Carlsbad, California, and Manhattan, New York. We are pleased to have him here tonight as it is the launch of his latest book, Reinventing the Body, Resurrecting the Soul: How to Create a New You. As I've known him for the past many years, I've just marveled at his brilliance, his intellect, and his ability to use his words and thoughts to reach so many hearts and minds all over the world. It's an absolute pleasure, delight, and privilege to join everyone here in the Silicon Valley. Let's give him a resounding welcome. Deepak Chopra.
That's good. So how's life? How's everyone? Do you believe that you have a soul? Because if you don't, then this is the wrong lecture, the wrong event. Okay, so when we use the word soul, what do we really mean? Anyone? Spirit. Okay. Let's use the word soul as synonymous with consciousness. Okay, because we're conscious beings, right? You're conscious right now. You're conscious of your thoughts, you're conscious of your body, you're conscious of this room, and your consciousness allows you to think, to perceive, to speak. When somebody's dead, then we say they have no consciousness, right? So, in a sense, consciousness is synonymous with life. Life and consciousness are synonymous. And if there's one mystery right now in science that has not really been solved, it's the mystery of consciousness. We know so much about the Big Bang, we know about astrophysics, we know cosmology, we know evolution. We are very advanced in our understanding of mathematics and the laws of physics and chemistry, biology, but consciousness eludes us. In fact, the more we understand biology, the more we understand how the nervous system works, the more difficult it becomes to understand consciousness. And one of the things, of course, is when you're looking for consciousness, it's your consciousness that's looking for consciousness, right? So when consciousness is looking for consciousness, then by definition, that's a subjective experience, right? Consciousness looking for consciousness is consciousness looking for itself. So by definition, that's a subjective experience, and science does not deal with subjectivity. Science deals with objective things. So that's one of the problems, where science finds consciousness so elusive. But let me see if I can give you a real idea of experientially what consciousness is. So just close your eyes for a second. And I want you to imagine that you're looking at a beautiful sunset on the ocean. Imagine that you're looking at a red rose with a green stem. You can smell the fragrance of the rose, feel the soft petals of the rose. Touch the stem, run your finger up and down, feel the prickly thorns. Okay, now open your eyes. So, as I said these things, you had an experience, right? And it wasn't difficult. All you had was a very subtle intention, and then you had an experience. So, let's imagine that I was looking inside your brain today. And today we can do that. We have all kinds of technology to look inside the brain when you're thinking a thought. That's what we're doing right now, you're thinking. Today one can take a carbon atom and put it in a sugar molecule, radio label it, inject it, and then look at the brain as you're having these thoughts. It's called positron emission tomography, and there are other ways to do it, functional magnetic resonance scans, imaging. So let's say I was looking inside your brain when you were imagining a red rose or a beautiful sunset, or looking at that green stem, or feeling the sensation of the prickly thorns. Do you think if I was looking inside your brain, I would see the picture of a sunset? Obviously not, right? There are no pictures in your brain. There are no sounds, there are no sensations. The brain is very dark, and all it shows is electricity and electrochemical reactions. Basically, electrical impulses that go between neurons along synaptic networks. You can think of synaptic networks as small micro fiber optic channels, if you will. But you saw a picture, right? So where was that picture? The picture was in your consciousness, okay? It was not in your brain. Did the electricity in the brain create the picture? Or did the picture create the electricity? Or did your intention create both? And where did the intention come from? Beginning to have some idea on this. But until recently, one of the greatest scientists of the world, Sir Arthur Eddington, said of things like this, he said, something unknown is doing we don't know what. The more we look inside the brain, the more elusive, as I said, consciousness becomes. So all your thoughts, your perceptions occur in consciousness. All your subjective experiences, imagination, desire, memory, intention, insight, intuition, creativity, inspiration, choice making. These are the attributes of your consciousness. Okay, now, instead of imagining things, tell me what is this color? Blue. So let's examine what's happening. There's some electromagnetic energy or wave or disturbance of electromagnetic energy that's coming from here to your eyes. Is that blue in color? No, otherwise we'd see blue beams coming from here to your eyes, right? But some invisible disturbance of one particular frequency of the electromagnetic spectrum is coming from there to your eyes. It's causing a disturbance there, an electromagnetic disturbance, a chemical reaction, and there's an electrical current going to your brain. And the current is not blue, and then there are synaptic networks that are firing electrical impulses between neurons, and they're not blue. So there's no blue there, there's no blue from there to there, and there's no blue as the electrical impulse goes to your brain, and there's no blue in your brain. Where's the blue? Where's the blue? In your consciousness. Where's deepak? In your consciousness. Where is your own body? In your consciousness. Where are your thoughts? Where's this room? In your consciousness. Where's California? In your consciousness. Where's the United States? Where are the stars, galaxies, the sun and the moon? All in your consciousness. Okay. And the great rishis of India said, know that one thing by knowing which everything else is known. And that one thing is your own self, your own consciousness. Now, as I said, science has been trying to figure out the mystery of consciousness, which is synonymous with your animating life force or your soul, if you want, because your soul is your core consciousness. In the last century, there was a brilliant scientist by the name of Dr. Wilder Penfield, and he was also looking for the soul. He was a neurosurgeon, and when he would operate on his patients, in those days they neurosurgery under local anesthesia because your brain doesn't feel any pain when you operate on it. And he would stimulate different parts of the brain to see what was happening. So one of his experiments was one day he was stimulating a part of the brain called the motor cortex. And the motor cortex is that which controls movement of the body. So he's stimulating this, and the patient's arm started to go up like this. And so he asked the patient, what's happening? And the patient said, my arm is moving up. He said, are you moving your arm? And the patient said, no, it's moving up. Maybe you're moving it for me by stimulating my brain. And then the patient was told by Dr. Penfield, he said, even as I stimulate your brain in order for your arm to move like this, I want you to make a choice. I want you to move it somewhere else. And in one instance, the patient reached over from the other arm and pulled it in this direction. In another instance, he resisted the movement and put it somewhere else. And with that simple conclusion, Dr. Penfield came to a very interesting conclusion. With that simple experiment, he said the brain is telling the body to go like this, but there's someone here who's telling the brain, I'm not going to let you do that, I'm going to move it like this. He said there's a choice maker that can override the commands of the brain to the body. He said, I know where the command post is, but where is the commander? The choice maker that overrides the commands of the brain to the body. And like that, Dr. Penfield did many other experiments to look for that person inside you who's all the time making choices and all the time making interpretations of experience. You know, we remember things, we interpret them. You are a choice maker. In every moment of your life, you're making choices about the future, and you're also remembering the past, and you're interpreting this past. And then you have imagination and creativity and all the things I have mentioned. This essential you cannot be found inside your body or inside your brain. And there's a very simple principle in science. It's called Occam's principle, named after a scientist called Occam. And he said, when you don't have an explanation, then the simplest explanation is probably the correct explanation. So what's the simplest explanation that you can't be found in your body or in your brain? What's the simplest explanation? You're not there. The simplest explanation that your consciousness cannot be found in your brain or your body, that your soul can't be found, is that you're not in it. So these days there are lots of very interesting books on so-called out-of-body experiences, when the real mystery is how do we manage to get an in-body experience without being in it? You are not in your body. Your body is in you. You're not in your mind is in you. You're not in this world, the world is in you. This was the greatest brilliant insight of the rishis of the Upanishads. They said, I'm not in the body is in me. I'm not in the mind is in me. Me meaning my core consciousness. I'm not in the world is in me.